Hi everyone, welcome back. Or shall I say, welcome me back. I don't know if you missed me or not, but here I am with another video. It's gonna be one of those stumbly videos without any plan or whatsoever. I simply want to give you a little feedback on what's going on in my country right now, and to give you a little bit of information about what is going on. I do have a lot of things to tell you about, so let's get started. First off, thank you everyone who's watching me, my subscribers, my old ones and my new ones. Guys, your words of support mean so much to me. You have no idea how grateful I am for your support and how it keeps me going through these difficult times. You really have no idea how precious your words are, really. um, that I understand that you guys care and you want to know the truth, and you are very kind people. I appreciate that so much. Okay, so I know that all of you are interested to know what is actually going on right now, like how's the situation in Moscow, because I live in Moscow, so I can tell you what's going on here. For my family, not much has changed in our everyday life. Like my kids are going to school. I've just walked them to school, and as you can see, we still have a lot of winter weather going on. Actually, March is still a winter month in Russia, so the snow is going to melt away only in April. So the weather and this, like the streets right now, look like this. I decided to show you a little bit of the supermarket downstairs, like in the same apartment building where I live. We have a little local supermarket. I wanted to show you the shelves, just to show you that, yeah, like everything is okay in the supermarkets. The shelves are not empty. I'm showing this because I already got questions asking me how are things with the food supplies and everything because of the sanctions. Everything is on the shelves now. I don't know how things will develop, but everything is okay now. And I can say that I know that in US and in Europe, in times of crisis, people rush to buy out toilet paper. Well, you can see that the shelves with toilet paper are there. Like they're not empty. But to tell you the truth, when something happens in Russia, people are not rushing to buy out the toilet paper. They are rushing to buy to make themselves supplies of buckwheat and salt, like buckwheat, salt, and sugar. Uh, Traditionally, it always happens like this. At least in the days of our first lockdown due to Corona, that's what happened. Buckwheat disappeared in seconds. If buckwheat is not there, then people start buying out different other types of grains that are available. Like that's how it goes. But you can see today that the shelves are filled with food, so everything is okay here. But I have to say that yes, we did see a little rise in prices for the food and like other things. And we do understand that the prices will come up more because of the sanctions. And yes, we do understand that we won't have some of the things that were imported from Europe and other countries. We do understand that. So what people are doing right now is they're trying to buy things for them that they use every day and that are not produced in Russia. Things like some self-care stuff, medications. I know people who are buying out dog food for their dogs, for their animals, because they're using like rare types of food for them, and they know that it won't be supplied to Russia later on. As for me, like as for us, we don't have that problem because our dog is eating food that is available in Russia, so we won't have problems with that. Um, but we do try to make supplies, to at least like little supplies in my place of like long lasting types of food, like a little bit of grains, a little bit of milk and other things, because I know that the prices will come up and it's reasonable to buy more today and to buy less later on. So we are trying to do a little bit of that in my family. I know that other people are doing the same, but the situation is not as bad as you probably think. Like nobody's panicking, nobody's rushing around, buying stuff. There are no lines in the shops. Like everything is smooth and calm. Um, I can tell you guys that the situation in Rostovskaya Oblast, like that's a part of Russia that is near the border of Ukraine. There, the situation is slightly different. No, everything is available in shops, no problems there. But schools were transferred to distance learning because of the safety reasons, and for the same reasons, the airports are not functioning. Like the internal domestic flights are stopped now for the safety reasons. So the trains are functioning. You can use the trains to move around Russia in that part of Russia, but airports are closed. Yeah, I think only airport in Sochi is still functioning as a local like hub. So all of us understand that sanctions are coming, and yes, we will have difficult times, but to tell you frankly, like sanctions never changed anything. It did cause a lot of economical problems for simple people, but they never changed anything in general. Like as far as I can see, as far as I can see, people who have the power and money, they are still feeling okay no matter how hard the sanctions are. And the one who are getting hurt are the usual people, simple people. I know, guys, that for some of you it might be difficult to understand what exactly is going on in Ukraine and what was going on there 8 years ago. How did this whole thing happen? How did it begin? So I decided to use a little example here to explain how things were developing. Okay, I know that a lot of people are watching me from the States, so I will use your country as an example here. Okay, so imagine a situation. You're having an election of president, you're having presidential elections, and after those elections, a couple of states announced that they don't want to be a part of United States anymore. They want to be independent countries starting from now on because they do not agree with the president that was elected. They think that like they didn't vote for him, they do not support him, they do not support his views and his policy, and that they want to be separate starting from now on. Can you imagine a situation that the newly elected president is going to make a decision to bomb those states, and that those states are going to be bombed for like 8 years? Can you just imagine such a situation? I know that for you it would probably sound insane, but that's what happened in Ukraine. That's exactly what happened in Ukraine. They had an elected president. But then, like sometime after that, they had a military takeover. And after that, they had a new president, Mr. Poroshenko, who had an absolutely different type of policy. And after that, the territories of Lugansk and Donetsk, they said, we don't want to be a part of this new Ukraine. Like, we don't want to support this new regime. I don't know, call it any way you like, but we want to be independent starting from now on. And Mr. Poroshenko actually made a decision to start bombing those territories, bombing people living on those territories. And by the way, he was bombing villages and cities, guys. Like, he wasn't bombing military bases or like some type of military objects all these years. And those territories were are being bombed for 8 years now. Now, World War II lasted for 4 years, and those people are being bombed for 8 years. It sounds absolutely insane to me, but that's what we have. And the truth is that all this time, like starting from the beginning of those bombings, uh, Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, I think it's called this way. I'll praise the name here. It's OSCE, if I'm not mistaken. Like those guys were present there at the border, like between Ukraine and the territories of Donetsk and Lugansk. And they were fixing each case of bombing, each case of backfire, like each case of shooting, like between the parties at war, because I think it's a war. It's an, how do you say that? A civil war? When the war is happening like within the borders of one country. So that's what they had in Ukraine. They had all the, like, this organization had all the information. So it was available for all the governments in Europe, as well as, I'm sure, like all the data is available for America as well. So if you guys didn't know for some reason that Ukraine was bombing its, how they say, their own people for 8 years, well, there should be a reason for that. It means that somebody uh, hid this information for you, from you, and that someone did it on purpose. I would like to hear in the comments whether you knew what was going on or whether it was a complete surprise for you to hear what I'm saying right now. So, um, and yes, like me standing from this side of the conflict, we've been having a lot of refugees coming to Russia starting from 2014. Like we had a huge wave of refugees coming to Russia in 2014, and then we had a huge wave of refugees coming now in the beginning of February. Like as soon as Europe and America decided to send their, like, military supplies to Ukraine, it was obvious for the people living in Donetsk and Lugansk that Ukraine is not going to stop bombing them, but it's going to enhance what it's doing. So they started to run, the people from those territories started to flee to Russia. I have to say that most of the people who come are women and kids. I do not see any men coming. Whenever I'm like seeing them in the news, I do not see, surprisingly, but I do not see any men. Like men stay to defend their land and their homes, and women come to save the children. And when they're asking those people, like, what's your opinion on what's going on? Like, what are your thoughts? What would you like to say? When the journalists are asking those people those types of questions, you know what people say? People say, "We are so glad that you came, that you Russians came. Now we have hope that they will stop bombing us, that we will have some peace." And they are even saying things like, "What took you so long? Like we were waiting for you to come and save us, and you did nothing for 8 years." Like those are also things that we hear them say. And what shocks me most is when journalists are asking the kids to say something, the kids of the refugees, and they are saying things like, but don't worry, we already got used to bombings. And these are little children who are saying those things. And the moms are standing there and they're like explaining, well, my girl is 9 years old right now, so she was born like only a year before the war began, so she doesn't remember peaceful times. And when those kids are asked, like, how were you living all this time? They say, well, we were staying in the basement. Like, we were staying in the basement. We had our beds in the basement and everything. And that's how it was. So, guys, do you understand? People didn't have a single night without bombings throughout the 8 years. And the truth is that during all this time, we've been hearing Ukrainian politicians saying things like, those who live there are nothing but cotton and they burn so well. Can you imagine somebody saying that? They're not even calling them people. They're like calling them, sometimes they're calling them objects or like creatures or like other names. And they're not afraid to say those things out loud. They're not hiding their position. They're expressing themselves openly that they're against those people. Sometimes we hear things like, oh, we don't have any Ukrainians left there, so we can just annihilate everyone there. How can you say that? uh, we've been seeing all those things throughout these years. And the only thing the Russian tried to do, yeah, is like we try to negotiate with them, with Ukraine, to stop the bombings. That's the reason why parties met in Belarus in Minsk and signed the Minsk agreements. And the main point there in those agreements were that Ukraine was supposed to stop bombing those territories of Lugansk and Donetsk, of those two republics that want to be separate. So, do you understand how this is going on? I hope it will, like, my words will help you to understand better what's actually going on. So, whenever I hear in the comments people say that like Russia has started a war, meaning that we started a war 2 weeks ago, I'm surprised. I'm like, guys, war is on for 8 years now in Ukraine, and Russia wasn't a part of this war up until recent activities, up until recent decisions to interfere into what's going on. Because, when we hear Mr. Zelensky say that he wants to have nuclear bombs in the territory of his country, when you see that he's having all those supplies coming from European countries and America, supplies of bombs and like other missiles and other stuff for war, how can you talk about peace? We understand that clearly they're preparing something there in Ukraine, and it's something not peaceful, that's something that doesn't have to do with peace at all, has nothing to do with it. Yeah, I'm sorry, my English seems to leave me today. Okay, so you see, it is like this right now. And as for the situation, like the military situation, of course, I'm not an expert here to say what's going on. I have no idea what type of information you're getting at your place. I can only like give you the information that I have. And right now, the situation is as follows: like some of the cities are surrounded by Russian army, but Russian army tries not to bomb anything like within the cities, because we understand that there are still civilians there. So Russian army is trying to give like special hours of silence. They call it hours of silence, where they're not the special periods in the day when they're not shooting, to give the possibility for civilians to flee the city, to evacuate. The roads are open. There are buses standing next to the roads, waiting for the people to come, to be taken to a safer place, either to Belarus or to Russia. But the truth is that people cannot come out. Like, we know that there are still civilians there, but people cannot come out because the radical neo-Nazist groups of people, armed people, are not letting them out. They're holding those people there in the cities like hostages, like a living shield between themselves and like Russians, and they're not letting them out. And the terrible thing is that they are running out of supplies, like they're running out of food, and of course they need to go out, because there are still like women there and kids there, and that's the problem. We understand that that's the main problem, and those people who manage to actually get out from those cities, they are saying all that. Like, we get the information from them. They're saying that they were not allowed to leave their place, that those armed groups of people, they are placing their military equipment, like the rockets, like that thing that blows rockets, they're placing all of those things right next to their houses, because they know the Russians will not bomb them, because there are like civilians there. Or if they will, then they will film it and send it out to show how bad Russians are. They're saying all that, and they're saying that when those people are trying to actually leave the territory, they are trying to shoot them down. And sometimes people have to either hide somewhere, or they have to pretend that they're dead. Like, I saw a woman and a son who escaped, and they were saying that they were like lying for almost 2 hours on the ground because they were afraid to move, and they wanted them to believe that they're already dead. uh, terrible things, really. And that's what's our most, concern right now, is uh, to God, to take those people out of there. As for the military forces, I have a feeling that right now you can say that there are actually three kinds of forces, military forces right now in the territory of Ukraine. There's a Russian army, there's Ukrainian army, and there are those armed pro-Nazist groups that used to be a part of Ukrainian army. Why am I saying that they used to be a part? Because yeah, like they used to be together with Ukrainian army, but what we see today, we are seeing that they start attacking Ukrainian army. So they're like fighting against everyone, and the truth is they are. I can only call them a radical, like a radical organization, like a radical movement, or I don't even know how to say that, but like Al Qaeda or like other radical uh, terrorist groups, those guys have nothing to stop them. No moral principles at all. Like I'm telling you, they're holding civilians as hostages, and at the same time, they already tried to attack the nuclear power station that is there right now, protected by Russian army, because we know that there might be like cases like that happening. They already tried doing that. Like, what's the reason for that? Can you imagine that? Like, if that's gonna happen, like if they actually manage to succeed attacking a nuclear station, it's gonna be really bad for everyone. It will mean that the whole place will be contaminated by radiation, and it won't be. Like people will not be able to live there anymore. Russians know that very much. Like we know this very well. We know that it's very dangerous to break, to harm the functioning of this nuclear stations that they have there on the territory of Ukraine. Because we've seen the consequences of the tragedy in Chernobyl, when uh, one of one of the reactors exploded, and how the territory was contaminated. We've seen that with our own eyes, and we understand that it is a very dangerous situation. So, in no case, the nuclear stations should be damaged. You know, so whenever you hear news out like Russians are trying to blow them up, guys, this is definitely a lie. Okay. Speaking of lies, speaking of false news, I have to admit that yesterday, as I was watching the YouTube, I came across a video from BBC, a pretty brief one. I think maybe like 6 minute video, but its name kind of caught my attention. I think it was called something like Russian refugees flee to Finland, or like Russians fleeing to Finland, or something else like that. I clicked on it and I saw it. And I should say that I was so surprised to find out a lot of things about my country. First of all, I found out that my country occupied Finland during World War II. That was the news for me, because as far as I can remember, during World War II, we were fighting with fascists, we were fighting with German army, and as Germany invaded Finland and made Finnish people fight for them, forced them to be on their side. It was the news for me to hear that we kind of like occupied Finland during World War II. The other thing that surprised me is that the man said, like, the main idea of the video was that people who do not agree with the official position of the government, of the Russian government, are forced to flee the country, and they are running to Finland. That was an absolute, nonsense for me. Guys, I live in Russia and I understand that those things are not happening. First of all, because we have a lot of people who actually do not support the government. And those people are saying whatever they want. Like, they're putting a lot of shit on our Russian government throughout the years, about different issues. Not only this recent issue with Ukraine, but about other issues as well. And those people are saying those things for like for years and years. We have media people, you know, like influencers in the media who are doing that constantly, and they're still there. Like nobody has put them in the prison, nobody has hurt them in any way. So guys, I have a neighbor living downstairs, um well, not exactly downstairs, but in the same building. I know that woman for 3 years now, and she is against every decision that the government is making. She's against everything, and she's very active in her position. Like she's signed the petitions, she's running around our neighborhood, you know, gathering signs, sending some sort of papers, you know, in letters to the president and to the government, saying that she doesn't agree with some of the things. She's not alone in her actions. As I understand that she's a part of a group of people who is doing that. She is still there. She's safe and sound, and I know her. I just saw her yesterday. So all those rumors that we don't have freedom of speech and things like that actually are rumors. Yes, we did have a law that was taken like a few days ago, according to which you are not allowed to spread fake news, to make and spread fake news that might harm our country. But and here again, I mean, if you simply like repost the news, you probably would be fined. I'm sorry, you probably would be fined. But if you are like making the news yourself, like you're making something that is a lie, you're making it look like that it's actually happening, and if it's going to be proven that your actions, that this kind of content has actually hurt, like caused any damage, like then you're risking to be put into prison. But here again, like I do not see anybody being accused right now, or like any trials going on according to this newly taken law. And as far as I know, in Europe and in America, you already have something similar. I know that in that if a newspaper or a TV program is spreading some sort of a rumor, or like saying something about a person, or like that's something that can hurt a person's reputation or its business or his business, if that is happening, then the person who was harmed can actually sue the newspaper, like sue the person who issued this information for that. So I don't think that this is something new or something that we only have in Russia. By the way, yes, we the Facebook is blocked in Russia because of a big amount of lies spread. It is already proven that those, like some of the things that they were showing there was not true, and because they were blocking, like they were letting a lot of bad stuff about Russia, but they were closing up or like blocking some of the things that were being pro-Russians. So that's why Facebook was blocked. I'm afraid that YouTube is going to be blocked as well, as well as TikTok. But we will see. We will see, and I just hope that I will be able to continue making videos for you and to tell you the truth, so you would at least have someone to tell you the truth. So I guess I will be ending my video here. Please write down in the comments what type of questions you would like me to answer, what are the things that you would like me to speak about in my videos. If I will have information, I will share it with you openly, just like I always do. And one more thing that I wanted to ask you guys is that whether I should continue posting videos like I did before, like, you know, videos about cooking and Russian traditions, and about some other type of things connected to Russian culture and Russia in general, but not about politics and the conflict. Like, do you want me to post those types of light videos for you? Yes, because I still have like a lot of ideas that I wanted to show you, a lot of things that I wanted to make together with you. So Yeah, just write down in the comments what you think about that. Okay, so I hope all of us will be staying safe. Let's pray together for this whole conflict to end as soon as possible with a minimum amount of people hurt. I do that every day. I wake up before the sun rises and I pray to God, saying, God, everything is the way you want it to be. I guess this is also something that has to happen, but just let it stop as fast as possible. Okay, so stay safe. Love you guys. Love you as always. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.